Generally with bulk ore conditioning, what they're trying to do is they're adding extra moisture to the ore as it's travelling along the conveyors. The best nozzle to use is a V-jet nozzle because it will basically cover the ore, and because it's a flat spray, it penetrates the ore a lot further than if you used a full cone nozzle.
Mud buildup is caused by droplets that are actually too big, actually bigger than dust itself. So what we have to do is we have to match the dust particle size with the droplet size. You get big droplet size, you'll create mud. And that's why it's important with dust application that the last thing we do is create mud.
If you're finding mud around chutes, it's generally coming from the fines ore. What happens is because there's a high moisture content in the ore, it starts to stick to the back wear plates. And as it sticks to that back wear plates and with the heat, it builds up and builds up to the point it starts to collect in the ore. And then they get basically issues with the ore being displaced in the wrong areas, which causes problem on tracking on conveyors and ore ending up shooting out the side of the chute. So it's got to be basically stopped and cleaned so they can be rectified and back to normal process.
Fogging nozzles, they're hydraulic atomizers where we don't use air. They're the LNN and M style nozzles. So they're a really fine droplet size used for misting and fogging for dust suppression and control.
Generally on the screen house they use dust extraction systems. So because they're using dust extraction systems, you can't add water because it blocks the screens as well. So the option they usually have is they put a fogging spray around the bottom side of the conveyor to suppress the dust from expanding outwards, so it actually gets pushed down to a ground level and it can actually be washed away. For ore moisture, you've got to analyse it as a whole site. You can't just say which sprays to use. So you've got to look at the whole site, look at all where the conveyors are, how much ore's travelling on there, what's the moisture content as it starts, then basically work out what your dust suppression sprays are going to be across site. And then once you know your dust suppression sprays, you take that out of the factor, then you add in your dust prevention sprays, which usually keeps within the limit of what they specify on site, which is averaging around 6%. Generally with the ore dumpers, they'll have extraction systems like the screen houses. So the best way to do is fit air atomizers. That way they can control the dust and add very little amounts of water to affect the dust extraction systems.